I'm Jill McEwen, the Life Team Leader here at Chapel of the Cross, and we have most of our Life Team here today. You can look for their name tags. And we're very excited to have a special speaker here today. It's Kristi Hofferber, and she is here to tell her life story, which is very interesting, and she's going to tell us about how God has worked through her and just make her feel welcome today. Thank you very much for being here.
She flew all the way from Colorado.
I did. I spoke yesterday morning at a 40 Days for Life kickoff in Colorado. So it's exciting to have a faith-filled weekend of speaking and sharing how God is moving in my life. So thank you for having me here. I am very excited. Can you all hear me? I tend to speak. Okay, no, you can't. Is this better? There we go. Okay, hold it closer. So thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here with you this morning. I'm thrilled to see so many members of the Life Team here. That's great. That is one thing that I would love to get started in our church. So I'm a part of Lutherans for Life. I'm on the National Board of Lutherans for Life, but we don't have a Life Team at my church. So that's on my to-do list. So my husband and I would love to see that happen. And we just pray that if it's God's will that happens in our area. So we're from a very rural area of Southern Illinois, and there are a lot of little Lutheran churches. So it's something that we have on our heart to get something in our area for Life Team, to be more involved. So again, thank you. It's a blessing to be here. I want to start this morning with a question for you. Have you ever felt called to do something? Anyone here felt called to do something? Have you ever had that feeling that you knew God had a different direction for your life? So you're going in one way and you feel that God is pulling at you to go a different way. That was me. I've had this happen in my life a few different times. One of the most prominent times in my life was 13 years ago. God was calling me to do something that, take a leap of faith, essentially. So when I stopped and listened to what God was saying to me, then I realized, okay, I left a 10-year career in banking. I loved my job. I loved what I did. I left a 10-year career after feeling this call to do something different, and I went back to school. But before I share with you more about that and where I am currently today, how I got here, I want to share with you how I got here. My husband and I were on a mission trip to New Orleans in 2008, and we were helping to rebuild after Hurricane Katrina, so the devastation there was great. Yes?
We had 5 different times from this congregation with them as well.
Nice. Were you at Camp Restore by chance?
Yes, we were.
Awesome. Awesome. I love it. That is a ministry very close to my heart. I love it. But it was on this mission trip in 2008. We were at Camp Restore, and we saw the devastation. And it was at that point in my life that I realized there were things pulling on my heartstrings that I hadn't taken care of in my own life, and how quickly life can change, right? I mean, that was devastation that happened to New Orleans. So those heartstrings that were being tugged, I want to share with you what that was. I was adopted at birth, and I held back many questions for many years about my adoption. I grew up an only child, and I never wanted to express my questions or curiosity, if you will, for my biological family. I always felt like that would hurt my adoptive family if I did that. And that was just me. But I truly felt like I didn't want to ask those difficult questions because I didn't want to hurt my family. But the things that were going on in my mind, who did I look like? Why was I placed for adoption? Do I have siblings? The list goes on and on and on. Those were all questions that had been ruminating with me for many, many years, and I was always afraid to speak up and say anything. Before the mission trip, I never felt like it was the right time. After seeing the devastation and realizing that life can change in a mere moment, I no longer wanted to move forward without these answers. I truly felt like this was the right time for me to move forward with my dream of learning more about my biological family. Little did I know where that would lead me. So we are now 13 years past that time in my life. So I want to share with you what those 13 years have looked like. All that I knew about my biological mother before asking questions was that she was 16 years old at the time that she placed me for adoption. I assumed that's why she placed me for adoption. I didn't know anything about her, didn't know about her family or any more information. And that's how my mind rationalized things, is that she was 16. What I didn't know is that she was making a selfless decision in order to remove me from a very abusive situation, not even seeing me before she left the hospital. So she placed me for adoption and then she left. No one knew at the time that she was being abused, and she would continue to suffer for many, many years following this. In fact, the abuse led to not just my conception, birth, and adoption, but 5 additional pregnancies. Of the 6 children, I am the only one that has survived. 1 was miscarried due to physical violence, and the other 4 were aborted. She was the victim of her own father for more than 20 years. When she became a young adult, she found the courage to prosecute him. And at the time that took place, I would have been 13 years old. The publication of the prosecution was run in the local newspaper, actually 2 of them. And my curiosity was still there. I actually went to both newspapers and pulled the articles just so I have them for my own information. So my adoptive parents at my adoption, it was closed, so they knew nothing of my biological family, and vice versa. My biological family knew nothing of me. So they didn't know where I was to find me while this trial was happening, to prove that her accusations were actually legitimate. They didn't have any evidence. They had no DNA. 4 children had been aborted, 1 was miscarried, and I was placed for adoption. He served a mere 18 months for over 20 years of abuse. So my biological family only put this connection together when they saw the article in the paper, because they were accidentally given, at my adoption, a paper that had my biological mother's name on it, and since she was a minor, it also listed her parents. So can you imagine their surprise 13 years later to see in the local newspaper that the daughter whose name matched my birth mother was prosecuting her own father that matched the paper they had as well. I can't imagine being in their shoes, to realize that their daughter was the one child that survived this situation, and she was conceived in rape and incest. I can tell you, their love for me never wavered. I never would have known. I never would have known. They never treated me any different. They loved me just the same, unconditionally, and my value never changed in their eyes. And I'm so blessed to have such a wonderful adoptive family. Because I had been placed in a closed adoption, there was no evidence. So again, he served 18 months, no more than 18 months. Now, the ironic part is, I grew up 10 miles down the road, so they had no idea. I wouldn't come into this picture until 17 years following the prosecution. So following our trip to New Orleans and seeing the devastation, I was led to follow my dream of learning more about my birth family. I had no idea at this point that any of this had taken place. I knew nothing of her abuse. I knew nothing of why she had put me up for adoption. I knew none of that. After a failed attempt to open my adoption case through the court system, so when I turned 18, I was always told, you can go through the court system, you can look up your case, all you have to do is fill out this paper and the judge will open your file. okay, I thought that's what I would do. Again, it was difficult for me to go to my adoptive family and say I would like this information. So I thought, okay, this is a way that I can do that and just kind of ease into this. Wrong. The judge actually denied my court file being opened. To this day, I don't know why. But he would not open my file. So I knew at that point, God was telling me I'm doing it the wrong way. I knew that my adoptive family had information. I didn't know what they had, but they had offered me information multiple times growing up. I just never felt like it was the right time and that I was ready for this information. And truly, I'm grateful, because if I had learned what I now know, I could have, gone a very different way, or things would have been very different for me. I'm glad that I had my firm foundation on my faith, and that I knew that God was leading me in this direction in His time, not my own. So I told my adoptive parents that I wanted this information. Now, this is a very heavy subject, so I always have to put a little bit of lightheartedness into it. So I told you that it was difficult for me to go to my adoptive family, right? So what did I do? I picked up the telephone and I told them, I said, I've told you many, many years I don't want this information. I'm fine, I love you, our family is great. So when I picked up the phone and I told my mom, I've told you all this time I don't want it, but I really do. Especially after going on this mission trip, I saw how things, can change just in the blink of an eye, and I have a longing in my heart to know more, and I need to know this information. Well, it was almost as if it was a relief when I told her that, and I was 30 years old at this time that I told her. It was almost a relief to her. I could hear that over the phone. But then she says to me, okay, we would love to sit down and talk to you about this, but we're not going to do it over the phone. So I said, okay. I hung up the phone and I walked 2 blocks over to their house. That was my security blanket. So it was very difficult for me. That's one of the hardest things that I've done in my life, because I never wanted to hurt them. They raised me very well. I love my family very much. And I'm very grateful for all that they have ever done for me. So that was very tough. But I did go over to their house. We sat down and they told me everything that they knew, and I'm grateful they did. I had no idea what to expect, but I certainly didn't expect that. So they had told me what they read in the newspaper, and they had told me their experience going through my adoption process, and that they had been given this paper. She actually still had the paper, so I now have that. I'm very grateful that they shared that with me. They shared everything that they knew, including being accidentally given the names, and that who knew that one piece of information would put this whole thing together. Had they not been given that paper with the names on it, they would have never known. Seeing the article in the paper, I was that child. They would have never known. And the whole thing was spelled out in the paper. The miscarriage, the 4 abortions, and the 1 child placed for adoption, was all spelled out in the newspaper. After learning all of this, through much prayer and deliberation, I decided to move forward with the intention to search for my birth mother. And thank you, social media, it took me 2 days. 2 days. All I had was a name. That was it. So I was searching through social media, and this was 13 years ago, so we didn't have all of the prominent social media avenues that we have currently. There were only a few. And so I'm searching and searching for her name. And of course, it's a common name, no middle name. I'm thinking, okay, how am I going to do this? How is this ever going to happen? And so I just typed it in, and going down the list, and all of a sudden I opened up one of them. I'm staring in a mirror. I had no question in my mind at that point in time. who she was. So I ended up, since the account was private, it only gave a portion of her email address. And I thought, okay, what do I do with this? How do I contact her? I can't get her information, but I can certainly see that this is who I'm looking for. So the partial email address that was listed, I filled in the blanks, what I thought they would be. And I just guessed. But it was a Yahoo account. So it had the first part of the email, which I'm surprised, because that's the part that should have been blocked. It had the first part of the email there at y.com, and I thought, oh, Yahoo. So that's what I went with.
It was God's blessing that it worked out.
It was, absolutely. So I just sent an email to her, to this account, not even realizing, is this it or is this not it? But I didn't know for sure. I just sent an email, and sure enough, it was her. And I just simply said, I think we have a connection. I sent her a picture. If you'd like to talk to me, I would love to talk to you. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if she would respond, but she did. And she said, yes, I would love to talk to you as well, much to my surprise. So very thankful for that. I trusted that God was leading me in this direction for a reason, and I'm very thankful that I had that trust and where it has led me today. She was very receptive to meeting with me, to forming a relationship with me even. And often you may hear people say that this could bring up more trauma, especially if it's from an abusive situation. She actually said the opposite. She said to me that it brought her healing to meet me, and for me to be a part of her life. It brought her healing, not more trauma. So I often hear women say, how can I carry the child of a rapist? Children conceived in this manner should be aborted. That is what we're told over and over by society. Children in this manner should be aborted. I'm here to tell you I value my life. I love my life. And I'm very grateful that she chose life for me and placed me for adoption, in spite of the risk that it put her in with her own family. And I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to have that relationship with her as well. My birth mother's situation is not an isolated incident. Many women suffer from abuse, and abortion is used as a tool to cover up that abuse, let alone if it's rape or incest. Society failed my birth mother. She was taken to the same abortion facility in Granite City, Illinois, 4 different times to abort my siblings. 4 times. And there was no one outside the clinic 40 years ago, offering her a way out or to provide her with the support she needed. And certainly no one inside asked questions when she came in time and time again. I'm grateful that today that need is being recognized through 40 Days for Life, through organizations such as Coalition for Life St. Louis, who are there to provide women in crisis alternative options for supportive services. And isn't God so good that I get to be one of those individuals offering this support? This is truly providential. So something I haven't shared with you yet, I don't think. I'm a part of Lutherans for Life. I'm on the board there, but I work at Coalition for Life St. Louis. I started there in April of this year. And my role there is to do sidewalk counseling. So if you drive past, there are 2 Planned Parenthoods in this area. One is in the Central West End, the last abortion facility in Missouri. It's in St. Louis. And then there's another abortion facility in Fairview Heights, Illinois that just opened a few years ago. So we do sidewalk counseling on both of those 2 locations. And we are out there offering alternative resources and trying to direct them to true supportive services. And I get to do this anywhere from 3 to 5 times a week. So I'm thrilled that I'm able to help women find safer, supportive, loving options. And that Coalition for Life is there to provide that for them. So another piece of what I do, which I will talk about later, is I'm doing outreach to churches for 40 Days for Life. So I'll share a little bit with you about that as well. Just a few weeks ago, in doing the sidewalk counseling, I had an opportunity to share my story with a woman who was coming into Planned Parenthood. She walked in, and she shared with me that she was not there for abortion. And then she just randomly brings up the topic, but if a woman conceived a child through rape, she believed that the mom should abort that child. Okay, I had to take the opportunity and share my story. I had to. So I was able to share with her that I didn't agree with how I was conceived in rape and incest, but that my birth mother bravely chose life, even though she risked her own safety. She was the hero, in my opinion, for doing this. And after we talked a bit longer, she went on her way to catch a ride. But before she left, she let me know that she had never met anyone who challenged her thinking on this in this way. And she no longer felt that a child conceived in rape should be aborted. Praise be to God. I know that this will not likely happen every day. I'm not going to just have that same experience every day on the sidewalk. But I also know that God is working in and through each of our sidewalk counselors to help these women. If we say that we are pro-life, and yet we make even one exception, we are being inconsistent. So I have another question for you. Who can tell me the percentage of individuals who are pro-life that will make an exception for those conceived in rape or incest? Any ideas, any thoughts on what that is? So if someone says they're pro-life, but they will make an exception if there's a rape or incest.
Probably 50%.
60, you said 60. 60% of individuals who say they're pro-life will make that exception. All life has value, right? All life. The Bible says in Ephesians 2:10, "For we are God's masterpiece. He has created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do good things He planned for us long ago." What the Bible doesn't say is that only those who were created outside of the sinful act, or those without genetic abnormalities, or those who are within a certain age range, are God's masterpieces. We are each and every one of us the crown of His creation. So going back to this 60%, I have my work cut out for me. Because I not only have to work hard to help those who are not pro-life understand that each and every life has value, I also have to defend my own worth to those who are standing shoulder to shoulder with me in the pro-life arena. And it can be exhausting. Access to abortion allowed my birth mother's abuser, her own father, to continue the abuse for over 20 years. Abortion didn't give her the freedom that many in favor claim it provides. It stole her childhood, it destroyed her children, and it allowed her to be victimized over and over again. She deserved better, and my siblings deserved better. This journey has led me down a path that I never imagined. 13 years ago when I reunited with my biological family, this is where I would be. I'm very grateful that I'm here. And after learning my story and reuniting with my biological mother, I went back to college to get my degree in social work. And I got my master's in social work because I wanted to be in a better position to help women like her. I knew that this was, again, God moving in my life, calling me in a different direction, calling me out of banking. I love banking, I love numbers. But I knew that there was a different plan for my life. So again, I don't agree with the sinful act that created me, but we all know that God can take the biggest of messes and turn it into a message. And there's no doubt in my mind that He created me in His image for His purpose and to share my story for His glory. And my story doesn't end here. So I don't know if I've shared with you about my family. So I'm adopted, you know that. My husband is adopted. Our 2 children are adopted. So I'm a huge adoption advocate if you didn't catch on to that. So, yes, my son is 17, and he was adopted from South Korea. My daughter is 6. And until 6 years ago, we thought my son was going to be an only child. That was just, we never planned to pursue adoption again. We had done that and we thought, this is our family that God has created. And 6 years ago, that changed. So, 2015, I was approached by a biological family member that I had just reunited with 7 years earlier. And she let me know that she was expecting and couldn't raise the child that she was carrying. She then asked if Mark and I would be willing to adopt. So at this time, Mark was not with me. I said yes. I knew he wouldn't say no. So I said yes, absolutely. And again, then I went home and I said, hey, I have some news. He was very surprised. But yeah, he agreed with me 100%. And if he didn't, certainly we wouldn't be where we are, but he did, 100%. He said absolutely. So my daughter is actually one of my biological relatives. So God is so good. She was born 10 weeks early. She spent the first 69 days of her life in the NICU in Springfield, Illinois. She was born at 2 pounds and 13 ounces. And she was tiny, but she's a fighter. And I'm happy to tell you that she is now a happy and healthy first grader. So she loves life. She's got wonderful, wonderful, bubbly personality, lots of energy, just amazing what God can do. Amazing what God can do. And I can't wait to see what God has in store for our family. So now you can see how I became so passionate about life issues. God took my mess and turned it into his message, and here I am today. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Another short story that I want to share with you, a family member who's very supportive of what I do, speaking for pro-life, a family member that I was close to growing up once said to me, why not me? As he battled with long-term health issues at the end of his life, why not me? This was a very simple and profound message that struck me in a very profound way. I can easily look at my own situation and say, why God? Why me? Why am I like this? Why am I here? But instead, I know that I'm here for his purpose. And it's not my place to question God. Romans 9:20 states, but who are you, a human being, to talk back to God? Shall what is formed say to the one who formed it, why did you make me like this? Again, just like every other human being, I am created in the image of God. Before I wrap up today and talk and open it up to questions, I want to share with you a few numbers. So, according to Human Life Alliance, between the years of 1995 and 2019, Planned Parenthood made $31 billion through abortion services. $31 billion. They also reported that there are more than 350,000 abortions performed by Planned Parenthood per year. And this is just Planned Parenthood, not any other abortion facilities. So this is why myself and many others today are fighting the spiritual battle on the front lines. And this is why we must continue to be here tomorrow and the next day and the next day. These women need our help. They need love, they need compassion, they need true supportive services. Mothers are being deceived to believe that they're not strong enough and that they're not capable to be the parent that God has called them to be. And men are grieving for their lost fatherhood, and innocent lives are being taken. So this is where God has called me to be. How many of you are familiar with 40 Days for Life? All right, wonderful. Several of you. Great. So this is a great opportunity, as you know, to get involved and to peacefully, prayerfully stand as witness at the local abortion facilities. So all of the abortion facilities in this area, thankfully, have 40 Days for Life. So St. Louis has one, Granite City, and Fairview Heights. all three of them. The upcoming campaign is actually getting ready to start next week. I can't believe it's almost here already. The 22nd of September, and it goes through October 31st. Coalition for Life sponsors the campaigns at the St. Louis Planned Parenthood and the campaigns at Fairview Heights. And there's also, again, one located in Granite City. So through 40 Days for Life, over 1 million volunteers have participated in peaceful prayer vigils. 19,198 lives have been saved through sidewalk counseling and prayer since 2007 through 40 Days for Life. Wonderful. There are 112 abortion centers that have closed in this time frame, and 221 abortion workers have quit. So we're not only there to support the moms who are in need of alternative resources, but we also can help women, men, whoever would like to get out of the abortion industry, if that's where their job is. Then we can refer them to get assistance in helping them find a job that is outside of this line of work. So very grateful that that opportunity is there. So if you're not involved with 40 Days for Life, I strongly encourage you to get involved, because we all know the power of prayer. We need individuals boldly standing as witness and offering prayer and true support to parents to bring their babies to life and help make abortion unthinkable. So this is what I do for Coalition for Life St. Louis, is help with the 40 Days for Life. So if you would like any more information on that, I would be glad to get you information. And I'm also going to bring you some resources with Lutherans for Life. We have some pamphlets and handouts, and I don't have a lot of them right now, but I'm going to send some in for your life group so that you can have those materials as well. And if you, any questions about 40 Days or Lutherans for Life, I can answer questions on that. I will be here for the next service as well. But I like to, after I've spoken, I like to open it up for any questions. And nothing is a stretch, so don't feel bad for asking questions about my own story, my background. I'm certainly open to answering any questions that you may have. So, yes?
I'm wondering where you fit in with your 4 aborted siblings and the one that was miscarried. Were you the first of or were you the last of the?
I was the second.
You were the second. Do you know what caused your mother to carry the pregnancy to term? Why was that different than the other 5?
From what I understand, the first one was the miscarriage. So I believe she was 13 at the time that she initially got pregnant. And she miscarried that child. And then at 15, she got pregnant with me, and she hid the pregnancy. And initially, she thought that would be a way out of the abuse, that she would have this child, and then fear took over. And rather than revealing that she was pregnant, she hid the pregnancy for quite a while, and then placed me for adoption anyway. And then the 4 subsequent pregnancies, again, feared when she realized what would happen. He took her to the abortion clinic, and that's what happened. So yeah, I was the second of 6. Yes.
So he took her and forced her to get the abortion?
Yeah.
I can't believe they don't question stuff like that.
They don't. And yeah, it's all about money. And it's a shame because many, many women suffer. It's not just her. Like I mentioned, her case is not an isolated incident. There are many, many women who are abused, and even trafficking. There's certainly trafficking that's happening, but they're afraid to speak up, or she was very afraid to speak up. She was afraid of her father because of the abuse that was taking place in the home. And when she did speak up, when she prosecuted her father, I think it was 1991, when she prosecuted him, her family turned against her. So they didn't believe her, they didn't want to believe her, and they turned against her. So that was a struggle. So when I came into her life, can you imagine how, I mean, they were trying to convince her that it never happened, that I was never born, that none of this ever happened. And can you imagine her relief when I came into her life and she said it was closure for her because she knew that she was not making all of this up and that it actually had happened, and she just didn't have any way to prove it. And ironically, she had gotten a paper after I was born. I was septic, so I was flown over to St. Louis for specialty care, and she got a bill from the hospital. So how, we don't know. Why, we don't know. She should have never been any part of that. But she got a bill from the hospital, so at that point, she told me that her family tried to convince her that I didn't survive. So it's just a mind thing, and how they can manipulate and lie and deceive. And it's just a shame that she dealt with that for so long. Yes?
When you came to the picture, how did her family react?
Good question. Her mother had actually passed several years prior. Her father was still alive, and I never met him. I think he passed 2 years after our reunion, and I did speak with him once on the phone where he apologized to her and asked for her forgiveness, and I can only pray that that is truly what was in his heart. But I never wanted to meet him. I never had that desire. And my intention for reuniting with her was not to bring him any trouble. I was there for her. And so, of course he wasn't happy, but it is what it is. And then her siblings actually welcomed me, and that was interesting, I guess you could say, because they didn't believe her. They were convinced it never happened. And then as soon as they saw me, and they saw her, and we looked just alike, it's like, there's no question for them either. They couldn't deny it any longer. So they welcomed me, and yeah. So that was.
Did your mom ever have any more children?
I have a half sister. Yeah. So I do.
Well, that's a blessing then.
It is a blessing. Yes, I have a half sister. We're not that close. We are how far apart in age? I want to say 12 years apart. But yeah, we are not that close. But I'm grateful that I have a sister, and that we have reunited and have contact still. So yes, very grateful to know my family. It certainly put a lot of pieces of my life together that I struggled with for many years because I just didn't know how or when to ask the questions. And I'm very glad that God had put me on that path and led me to where I am today.
And I guess her mother knew this was going on. Your grandmother.
She claims no. She claimed no. She said when the trial took place that she didn't know about any of it, and she actually treated my birth mother very poorly because of the accusations. So that's, I think, common. Whether they do know or don't know, I think it's common that they're not going to come forward, usually. I know of another similar situation currently, which is very sad. Yes?
It might be helpful for those here that don't know about 40 Days for Life, if you could explain that a little bit.
Certainly.
How it started from Texas.
Yes.
Remember the story that Brian always tells?
I don't know if I know it that well.
I do.
Okay. Bill knows the story from 2007, correct? 2010? 10, okay. So I've seen a few clips of Brian speaking about it, Brian Westbrook, and I've seen a few clips of that. And I've only just gotten introduced to 40 Days, so I'm excited. This is going to be my first campaign getting involved. So I'll share with you what I do know. They have 40 days twice a year. So we have the campaign in the fall and the campaign in the spring. And everyone signs a statement of peace. Anyone that participates saying that you're there for peaceful vigil, not any condemnation to anyone or yelling at people or any of this. It's a calm, peaceful vigil, and we're there to pray. And prayer and fasting. And so that's the purpose of being there, is to be a witness to those who are going in, who see, if you want to carry a sign or hold a sign, you're welcome to do that. So we do have signs that people will hold that say love them both or pray to end abortion. Very peaceful, non-judgmental signage that we can have. And we will stand out on the sidewalk in St. Louis. And then we will stand in Fairview Heights. There's a grassy area outside of the fence in Planned Parenthood that's a public right of way. We actually have a very nice area right there, very flat ground. So any, if someone in a walker, with a walker or in a wheelchair would like to come out, we have a great area for that to happen. So for the 40 days, we have 12 hours per day. So we start at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at both locations. And we have 2 volunteers, at least 2, so minimum 2 volunteers per hour, standing, praying, and if they want to hold a sign again, they can hold a sign, but it's not required by any means. You pray how you are comfortable praying. And we're just asking you to be there as a peaceful, prayerful witness. Yes.
You want to emphasize that churches and schools and all that, groups come down
Yes.
as a group and pray.
Yeah, we have many groups that we actually have some buses that come in, I want to say from Vandalia, or from quite a ways away, that will come in, and students will, churches, schools will come in, and they will come as a busload and just surround the fence and pray, and it is unbelievable to witness from what I hear. So I'm very excited to see this campaign and to be a part of it for the first time this year.
The 40 days was a biblical, that's when Sean and Will started off 40 days down in Texas.
Yes. So, yes.
They started with 40 days was biblical, it happened in several different occasions in the Bible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are several references to 40 days in the Bible, and that's the premise behind the 40 days. So that's why we do this for a set time. So it has a beginning, it has an end. We do this for 40 days, and it's twice a year that we have this campaign going. And I would highly, highly encourage you to get involved. Even if you come out just for an hour, if you just want to come out and see, you don't want to sign up, but you want to see what's going on, and you'd like to just get an idea, get a taste of what's happening, you're welcome to do that. You can just come out. We prefer that you sign up, but certainly not required. We have a registration at each location. And one of the other things too I want to share with you is, I know you're kind of located, how far is Fairview Heights from here? Maybe a half an hour? Half an hour, and then Maryland Heights, about a half an hour the other way? No? 20, a little closer? Okay.
Yeah, but Planned Parenthood on Forest Park is different than where Maryland Heights is, so.
Okay.
You go there,
Oh, yes,
you go down
that's right, down
170 to Forest Park.
Okay, so Forest Park, yeah, Forest Park is where Planned Parenthood is
But that's
located.
about 40, 45 minutes.
45 minutes, okay. So either way, it's a little bit of a drive. But I want to share with you the location in Fairview Heights. That's primarily where I'm at. I will work in the St. Louis, Maryland Heights office, and I'll also do sidewalk counseling in St. Louis. But if you haven't seen the community center in Fairview Heights, please come and see it. Please come and see it. We have a wonderful facility, and certainly a God thing how that facility came to be, because the corner office, or the corner of the community center, is a chapel. So the very corner, the closest corner to Planned Parenthood, we are directly behind Planned Parenthood. There's a parking lot between our parking lot, or there's a parking lot between our community center and their parking lot. And the closest corner is a chapel, and it's gorgeous.
Full person.
Yeah, they did a wonderful job putting that together. And this is open for 40 days, so if you're hesitant to come out because of weather, cold, hot, or if you're you wanna sit down, we do have chairs that we bring out, we also have kneelers. All of this is available, you're welcome to bring your own chairs, but we do have some. But the chapel can also be utilized, so you can come inside if you'd rather be inside praying. And the line of sight is directly, it's 132 feet from the door of Planned Parenthood. So it's a great location there. So yeah, anyone that would like to take a tour or just come out and see it, please get in touch with me, we would love to have you out.
And Planned Parenthood tried to keep that a secret when they were building it, right? They were,
Yes.
from what I heard,
Yeah.
the builders didn't even know what they were building.
Right. It was previously an office building, a medical office building, and they just knew that they were redesigning it, but many of the contractors didn't even know. So when they found out, I have a good personal friend whose relative was one of the contractors, and when he found out what was happening, he said, I'm done. Because they had no idea that Planned Parenthood in Fairview Heights was being developed as an abortion facility, that it was gonna be Planned Parenthood. They did all of it undercover until the last minute. And so many of the contractors were very upset about that. And I think there were a few things that were unfinished and they had to find new replacements to come and finish it off.
And then how long was it before Coalition built theirs?
Very quickly.
Oh yeah, less than 9 months, Brian, and we negotiated the.
I don't think people heard that question.
How quickly did Coalition for Life St. Louis come into Fairview Heights after Planned Parenthood opened? That was the question. And it was within, Bill said within 9 months. So very, very quickly. I believe the story is that Brian came over to look at Planned Parenthood and look at the facility and was approached by the building, either the owner or the one who leases out the building, and they offered him space there. Is that correct?
Right.
Yeah, so it was just like that. Truly a God thing that we are not at the other end of the building where you can't see Planned Parenthood, but we are in the very corner of the building that has the best line of sight directly to Planned
You
Parenthood.
don't have to go up the steps.
What's that?
You don't have to go up steps or
Yeah.
an elevator.
No, it's on the first floor, right at the corner of the building.
It's wonderful because if the girls decide or have questions about keeping their baby or not having it aborted,
Yeah.
Coalition is right there with the
Yes.
spiritual help.
Yeah.
Where down the city, they have to drive
Yeah.
20 minutes to get to the
Well,
house.
There's
well,
one right there.
there is the two nuns live
Yes.
2 houses away from the Planned Parenthood there.
Yeah.
So you also have restroom facilities either way.
Right. It's a great location. It couldn't have been at a better location. And we actually have had those who are questioning if they're going in for services at Planned Parenthood and they're questioning things. There is a mobile unit that sits in our parking lot Monday through Friday through Mosaic. And so they will take walk-ins and we can get them in. But if they have someone already in there, we have the community center and we can always bring someone over, offer them water, just give them a place to sit and to wait, and to talk if they want to talk, but they certainly don't have to. We've actually had that happen a few times. It's just a great opportunity because we are so close. It's nice to have that location right there. Any other questions?
Well, tell us what led you to join up and decide to to find Coalition for Life and decide to go ahead and be the social life and outreach.
Yes,
coordinator.
certainly. So actually, Coalition for Life St. Louis was on my radar back in 2012. And I had to do an internship with my social work degree. And so I saw an advertisement for an internship at a pro-life organization that was close by, and I was thrilled. So I went and I talked to Brian actually at that point. And as it turns out, the college would not allow me to do an internship at a pro-life organization.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
So,
Wrong college.
yeah, exactly.
Because I know St. Louis University sponsors or has lots of interns that
Oh, wow.
Brian employs, yeah.
Oh, see, now that's what I would have preferred. That was my goal. I ended up at an adoption agency rather than at Coalition at that time. So still in the same kind of thing, but yeah. So it was in March of this year when again I felt my heartstrings being pulled, and I went to the March on the Arch in St. Louis. And I had been there a couple times, actually, the past two I've been to. And I was excited, and I'm part of a group in Southern Illinois. It's called Southern Illinois Advocates for Life, and it's through the LCMS Church under our district. And we had a table there, and I worked with a lady there to give out information on Lutherans for Life and different materials at that event. And I thought, okay, this is where I want to be. This is where I need to be. This is truly where I feel called to be. And so it was not very long after that event when I sent in an application to Coalition for Life St. Louis, and here I am. So my husband is also a Lutheran pastor. I don't know if I mentioned him. So some of you may know that. But he is an LCMS Lutheran pastor. So I know many of the area churches in our area because I grew up in Southern Illinois, so I know a lot of the pastors. So I'm very excited when the opportunity came for the outreach coordinator position and working with area churches. I can tell you I'm very excited that many LCMS churches are getting on board with 40 Days for Life. So it's exciting because I know that there hasn't been a huge presence before, and even the March on the Arch, there was a good presence this year with the LCMS Church. So that's exciting for me to see that momentum continue to grow. But that's how I got here. That's the March on the Arch, a great event. Again, if you haven't been to that, every March we do that in St. Louis.
Yeah, well, this year we didn't quite make it to the arch.
No,
We just went
just
all the way
the
around.
Jericho March around the block, big blocks there. And hopefully we get to go back to the Arch again this year, or 2022. Yes, sir.
What are available for the fathers of these children as far as counseling and so forth?
Yes, we
You
have.
did make a little statement about that.
We have resources. So we refer to what's called Women's Care Connect, and they know of all of the resources that are available wherever you're located. So if it's on the Illinois side, if it's on the Missouri side, they're in tune to all of the resources that are in our area. And so if you come in as a father and say, I need help with counseling, they will find you an organization that can provide you help with counseling. Or they can help in some capacity as well. So it just depends on what that need is, but they will find a resource that's available. But certainly we want the men to have, because we know there are many, yes, absolutely, and many fathers grieve the loss. I've seen it in the parking lot of Planned Parenthood. The fathers will be in the car crying because their girlfriend or their wife is inside having an abortion and they don't want it to happen. And there's nothing they can do. So we try and provide them and support and offer them the resources as well so that they can reach out to someone who can help them. Good question. Yeah.
Lutherans for Life also has Word of Hope.
Yes.
Which is a phone service for
Yes.
men and women.
Right. And that's one of the brochures that I will bring you, or I'll send to you. So I have, Lutherans for Life provides some information. I just don't have any right now. So I will get some of those at our meeting next month and send them to you, Joel. I'll get those to you, so that you'll have those. Yeah, any other questions? I know it's 10:41. But yeah, certainly any questions you have, if you don't feel comfortable asking in front of the group, I'm staying for the service, so you're welcome to catch me after the service. If you have any questions on 40 Days for Life, or you want information on how to get involved, then certainly I'll
And
answer
the sermon is
questions.
a great thing because it talks about children being Jesus takes the child and says, these are the greatest of these, not you or my disciples, but it's the children. And Jim does a great job of presenting a very good, so stick around.
Great, great. Well, thank you all so much for having me here. It was a pleasure to be here this morning, and I'm glad that you're all here to hear about my story and about 40 Days for Life.